Hello everyone. A very good evening to all. എൻ്റെ മലയാളി സുഹൃത്തുക്കൾ ക്ഷമിക്കുക. Today this presentation is going to be in English because this is a response video or a reply to Dhruv Rathee regarding one of his videos that was aired very recently titled Kerala Story, is it fake or true? So there are certain things which we need to understand after watching that video on the Kerala Story, the movie. So let us get into that without wasting much time because it's already late. So first of all, I believe that those people who are watching this video would have watched this video first. Also the movie, because that's more important to understand what I'm going to say today. Because without having an understanding of what this movie is speaking about, you won't be able to understand what Dhruv Rathee was trying to explain. And even you won't be able to understand what I'm trying to criticize or to read in between the lines of Dhruv Rathee. First of all, I should congratulate Dhruv for making this video to make the points clear regarding the two propaganda items inside the movie. Because first of all, we have to agree that this movie, the Kerala Story, is a movie to defame Kerala. That's what Dhruv believes, and that's how he's trying to defend in his video, to say that it's not defaming Kerala, or it is not right way to defame Kerala this way, because Kerala is not to be blamed or to be defamed this way. There are certain good things in Kerala which you have to address. So in that case, there are certain problems. That's what we are trying to address here. And as I said in the description to the video, it's up to you to decide whether it is a serious problem or a trivial one. But I find this as a more serious problem. And I believe that you will get to know why it is so. So first of all, Dhruv Rathee, I'm not playing his video here, but Dhruv is trying to explain what a propaganda is. And he is bringing up certain examples from the past, from the history, from the times of Hitler, to explain it well. And he has done a very good job in that. I should agree that. So when we say that this movie, as believed by Dhruv, that it is about to maligning Kerala or to defame Kerala, we need to understand, or we need to recall the statement made by the Kerala High Court, which was done a few days before, that it was said like this, that it is not about defaming Kerala or any of these believers in the state or anywhere in the world. It's all about the terrorists. Then why do you want to care about that? Why do you want to call it as a something that is against Islam or something against Muslims? So that's what the Kerala High Court was asking. So that is the same point where we need to stand, and you have to look at this review or this video made by Dhruv. Here, Dhruv is also making that statement that this movie is maligning Kerala. So in what way it is maligning Kerala? That's the point that we need to look at here. So I think we have to recall certain things that he had mentioned in this video. First thing is the number 32,000. And there's no doubt that we from Kerala, being an ex-Muslim and a free thinker and a person who always wanted to talk facts, we already have discussed very much about this, and we have made it very much clear that this mentioning about 32,000 in this movie, not in the movie, in the description that was given along with the teaser and along with the trailer that was released before the release of the movie, that was mentioned there in that description. And this was something untrue and which is not fact-based, and we questioned it. And that's how a thing works in a democratic country like India, where we have to question things. We can produce facts, we can ask for facts, and if they are failing for that, they have to withdraw that, and that we saw with regards to withdrawing this statement they had to delete it, or they had to change from 32,000 to number 3 in the description. And that was done as part of the Kerala High Court verdict. So we saw that. So from the beginning, from the day one of the teaser that was released back in November last year, we were telling two things. One is regarding the number 32,000. The second one was regarding the idea or the propaganda item called love jihad. So these two things, the number 32,000 and the terminology called love jihad, these two things will be the most discussed aspects in this movie, which is nowhere related to the reality, and that will take away the real discussing points away from the real subjects, and the whole discussions will be revolving around these two subjects, which is a waste of time and which is something untrue and which is not real. So this exactly is what is happening here, and we have seen a YouTuber with so much fan following, subscribers and viewership discussing just two things like this in a whole 20 minutes video, and he missed the main point or the main aspect that has to be discussed, and above that he even trivialized the bigger issue. We'll come to that later. So first of all, I congratulate Dhruv for making these 2 points clear, better than us, with all these facts and all those graphics that was shown in his video. That is well explaining. And I think this will clear almost entirely to the northern India, where those people are speaking Hindi, they understand better. So that this idea of love jihad and how these two terminologies of this number 32,000 and this love jihad is being used in every election campaigns, in every WhatsApp forwards, and in many other areas where these kind of allegations are used against the people in South India, especially from Kerala. So I think this video will help to clear out such misconceptions in North India regarding the Kerala. So that's one part. But apart from that, there are certain other things. He mentions a story or a web series in Netflix, Caliphate. Even I recommend this one to be watched by every one of you, because you will get a better idea without any propaganda items. So this is the area where I differ with the producers and the directors of this movie, Kerala Story, that they came up with these 2 points, and they completely maligned the discussing points where people were misguided towards trivial items of discussion, and the main subject was missed. That is terrorism and Islamic terrorism. That was the point to be discussed. That was the area the whole discussion should have reached, but we are missing that. Instead, we are just beating around the bush, talking about certain things like love jihad and 32,000. All the discussion is about that. So we are missing the main issues. So if you are really interested, and if you are truly dedicated to solve this problem the whole world is facing, even in India we are facing this, or we are about to see the bigger versions of these problems, you can watch this movie and you will get an idea of how this is going to affect us, and how the people in our country might be part of this, and if they are part of that, how we can rehabilitate them. That's the whole idea of watching such movies and all such programs. So we missed such a healthy discussion with this movie, and that was sponsored by the directors of this movie by inculcating such propaganda items into this movie. And this was the main point which we were putting forward from the day one of release of that teaser. That has created a big divide in our minds. That shouldn't have happened. Now, coming to another series or another program that you can watch is Black Crows. That is also available. You can watch that to get a very good idea. So now coming to this 32,000, where Dhruv Rathee is discussing the whole thing in his video, we can see certain statements made by him which really trivializes the bigger problem of Islamic terrorism, and even he shifts the focus towards Muslimophobia. That is to see Muslims as some of the problem creators. We can see that. I'll tell you how it is done in this video. So in this video, he shows this clip from another interview made by this Nimisha Fatimur, that girl who was captured in Afghanistan, and she wanted to come back to India, and such a news was spreading in our country where they wanted to come back, and our governments was not willing to take them back. So they had released an interview through some other channels, and that was a short portion from that video that is being showed here. In that, Dhruv is quoting from that lady, and she is telling there that how they talked and their behavior. Look at that. So in that, she is telling, I can never say that Khalifa was wrong or the Caliphate was wrong. So she was brainwashed from a non-Muslim. Being a non-Muslim, she was brainwashed into Islam, and she did her hijrah to Afghanistan with her husband. Both of them were converts, and from there, the husband got killed, and she was left homeless, and she wanted to come back. And even at that time, she was telling that the Caliphate was not wrong. She is still having strong beliefs about the idea of Caliphate and the whole point of Islamic rule, ISIS, and all other ideologies which she was brainwashed into. Now, after that, we can see that Dhruv is asking the same question: how brainwashed and radicalized these women still are. So I'm not sure whether how many of you have listened to this, but when this question is asked, what is the real point that is being raised here? It is obvious that these women were brainwashed. There's no question about that. There's no doubt in that. But when this is being asked now, how brainwashed and radicalized these women still are, that means there's no room for remorse or a kind of the person thinking back and introspection and coming back to our country and to live a normal life as a Muslim, because our country is not an atheistic country. There we have the option to provide for every believers, including Muslims. That's how our country is put forward. So here the question asked is this, and even after that, he is making a weird comparison here. That is, the main character of the film in the Kerala story is constantly tries to evoke sympathy. So if you had watched this movie, you can see that Shalini, she was very much having that introspection, and she's having a feeling of a guilt that she shouldn't have done this, and she wanted to come back. And now this feeling is compared with the feeling of our real life character, where she's asking or she's telling that the Caliphate was not wrong, and she's still believing in it. So what exactly is the point that you are getting here? Do you think that this comparison is something that is to be done in this country, in this world? Because to have a sympathy, to portray the sympathy as something good, is something that we always warrant for, we watch for, we look for. And if somebody is not having that, that is not a mistake, because a person who is already brainwashed and who is already or still under control of that ideology, is very difficult for that person to come out of that. And it's the responsibility of this community, of this world, of these people who understands this, to make them realize the problem and to bring them back to life, to give them the normal life. That's the duty of we, the people who are safe from all these ideologies. Here, I don't think Dhruv made this something deliberately, but this shouldn't have happened in this video, because this question really promotes a kind of idea that Muslims are the problem, Islam is not. This is the idea that is being put forward here. Because we always say that, being an ex-Muslim, we always say that every person who is under control of any of these ideologies, they are the victims of those ideologies. And that is true even to an ISIS fighter, because they were brought into this ideology of Islam through ISIS recruitments, and that is the fault of that ideology, that they were getting into that. And now they wanted to come back, and they need to, we should give them an opportunity to compare their caliphate with the Indian secular democratic country. So we are not giving that. And even Dhruv is asking a question to his viewers, that there is a question that I want to ask to you. That's what he says. Will you have sympathy of these real life women? And if you really think that they have to be brought back to our country and they can serve in our country, maybe in our jails, they can even help the Indian security forces, to our intelligence, to know more about what all things are going on in those places. There are multiple utilities out of bringing them into our country. But the whole point is being kept aside, and it is being asked to the viewers, what do you believe whether they have to be brought back to our country? So I really hoped that Dhruv would have given an answer, but his answer is not there. But instead he insists, or he emphasizes this question: will you have sympathy for these real life women? This is the question that is being asked repeatedly here, or which is being portrayed as a bigger question. I don't agree to that question, because I have already made it clear that those women who wanted to come back to our country should be brought back to our country. That's what I say, because that can be done in a way to help the people here, to give them an example of what all things are happening there, what would happen to you if you go there, what is happening to these people who are getting recruited or getting brainwashed with this ideology. All this could be brought into real life, into the daylight, without depending upon any of these movies like Kerala Story. That should have done here. But we missed that opportunity here by letting them die. I believe that they might have died there during this conquest of Taliban afterwards, which we saw last year and before. So here, that is the biggest question that is being raised here. And I don't agree to that, because we should give an opportunity to those people to come back to our country. And I'm not repeating that again. And now, he is also giving certain examples to make it clear how these recruiters were joining this ISIS forces and all such things, and how they were interlinked between the people. But when he says all this, it is getting clearer and clearer that Muslims are the problem. Muslimophobia. If a person goes to ISIS, it is his problem. It is not the problem with the religion. That kind of shift of ideology is something very dangerous, and it is applicable to any ideology, including the many other ideologies like communism or the Hindutva ideologies, or any such ideologies which can work the same way. I'm not saying about the recruitments, but getting hold to those ideologies as a victim. So we need to separate Muslims from the ideology, that is Islam. And Dhruv has made it more difficult. And it is getting more clear when you get this video that was made by him, getting shared by Muslims. And even many of the Muslims who used to criticize me for my views made on this social media regarding the criticism of Islam, they were sharing it to me, and they were asking me to watch this video, and they were asking me that, see how a Hindu or how a person who is a real Indian who is trying to save the Muslims. It's not like you who are Sanghis. That's what they were telling. And I truly believe that these people who are talking high of this video, they have not fully watched this video. That's what I believe. Because towards the end of the video, there are certain other things which Dhruv Rathee is making, but that is the problem where the Muslims, the normal Muslims living in our country, missed the whole point. Because Dhruv made the problem trivial. It was made so meager that it's not a bigger problem in our country. So he even was trying to say that it is too much to say like this because India is not having much number getting recruited into ISIS. So that's what he was telling. And between those statements, he made a statement here. That is 17 of them came from a single district in Kerala, that is Kasaragod. So he was talking about the recruits. And this was the statement that he has made here. And I think Dhruv himself missed this statement that he was making. Because I'll let you know how this was missed by him. So he was now taking both these things, that is the number 32,000 and love jihad separately, and he was making a point to make it clear that to expose the propaganda that was these two things was used for propaganda. So for that he used multiple statistics from the state government and from the central government and many other international journals. So in the movie and in the descriptions, as I said, it was mentioned earlier as 32,000. It was never mentioned in the movie as it is. That I should agree. But it was made as a propaganda item while popularizing the teaser or the trailer. So he was now venturing on to look at the problem and to see how big it is. Now we can see he's jumping over to other countries where he's trying to compare it with other countries. And for that, he made a comparison with other European countries, some other Arab countries, the Middle East and North Africa region, and the Americas, and then to our country. So this is how the comparison was made. And he was shocked to see that the population of these countries is much less than India, and still they all had huge number of recruits than from India, in spite of having this huge number of population and the biggest Muslim population in the world. Almost it comes to around the third position. So that is the point that he was making there. So if that is the case, and if he is saying that we have very less or fewer ISIS recruits are seen in India, and has a ratio of 0.5 per million in India. And we have the other statistics here, which says clearly that up to 2017, Kerala had 21 recruits or some sympathizers arrested so far. So see the number. 21 was from the state of Kerala. So if any one of you thinks that why this movie was named Kerala, I'm not talking for the movie. I'm talking for the situation here where the people are trivializing the terrorism, Islamic terrorism and jihad. That's the only point why I'm taking this up again and again. Because the whole movie, the point of the movie was to talk about that. But now it is getting dragged away from that and is talking about multiple other things which is irrelevant and which is used as propaganda items, and the culprits, the real culprits behind them is the directors of the movie itself. So here you can see, until 2017, the greater number of recruits or the sympathizers to ISIS was from Kerala. It was 21. And the second position goes to Telangana, where it comes to around 16. So if you have a doubt why this was named the Kerala story, this is one among the reasons. This is one among the reasons. So among these recruits, there are women, there are original Muslims, there are converted Muslims. Multiple people are there. There are individuals going to these ISIS for caliphates. There are families along with kids going to these caliphates. And forget about the number 32,000 and forget about the number 0. We are talking about a number which is non-zero. That is the time when this question is getting valid. Is it really worthwhile to legitimize all these kind of actions against this movie, which says that this is something against Kerala, it is defaming Kerala, and it is something against Muslims. I don't think so, because that will again damage the scenario, and that will again promote that will give a place, a breeding place to all these jihadis or to all these terrorists who are looking for a safe place to hide. That is happening here. And when we have all these numbers, and which is reported by multiple medias, and I just took one among them, you can see it here. He is trying to say that India is having very less number of recruits. I agree to that. India is having very much less number of ISIS recruits. But the real problem is, in India, the biggest number of recruits happens from Kerala. That's the biggest problem. And even I still believe that a better name for this movie would have been to rename it to the Kasargod story. Because he himself said that here, that the most number of recruits is from, the number of recruits were from a single district in Kerala. So maybe on the same line of thought that Dhruv Rathee is having, one can argue that with the name Kerala story, all the other districts apart from Kasargod is getting defamed, or their image is getting maligned. Trivandrum, for example, or Cochin, the state, the economic capital of our state, that is getting maligned. No, that's not happening here. So to name a story based on certain events, that is truly upon the directors and the people behind the movie to name it in whatever way that they want. But it's upon them, imperative upon them, that they should focus on facts and to stay away from propaganda, or else they have to clearly say that it is a genre called propaganda movies, and it's totally approved to have included their movie onto that genre. There's no problem in that. So, but here it's not like that. They are claiming that to be something related to true stories, and then again including certain propaganda items into that, so that the people will be getting confused between true events and propaganda. So that's the problem here. So now when Dhruv Rathee ventures into defining all these things, even he is now getting included into this bigger picture of trivializing the bigger problem that is Islamic jihad. And secondly, to promote Muslimophobia. That is a statement that he has not told explicitly, but ultimately it is boiling down into that Islam is the problem. Islam is not the problem. Certain Muslims, the brainwashed Muslims, are the problem. So that is something that we have to make clear of ourselves. That is not the case. Now, he now moves on to explaining Kerala as a living example of unity in diversity, and to showcase some of the pictures where different religious people living together peacefully and coexisting peacefully and all. So that's a good thing, because that's the most important aspect that we always rejoice, being a Keralite or a Mallu, the way the North Indian people call us. That's something very much cool about the Malayalis. Yeah, we coexist with all other religion. And that is the reason again that is coming back to this movie, why we have to say that there is some element of truth in this. Because into a society where the people coexist like this, certain group of people, they come to this community as a proponents of some of the ideologies, for example, Islam, and they start explaining things in a bitter manner where they start questioning other religious beliefs. They can ridicule a monkey flying with a mountain, as mentioned in Ramayana. They ridicule it. They ridicule the stories mentioned in Christianity of a person lying dead and rising above on the third day. They ridicule it. But nobody is allowed to speak about a person who is believed to fly on a donkey to the moon or over the seven skies. So this is the kind of narratives that is being brought into this society of people who are living peacefully, coexisting peacefully. And after that, we are seeing an emergence of Islamic terrorism and the biggest number of recruitments happening in our country to the ISIS and many other Islamic terrorist groups. And I don't know whether Dhruv Rathee is aware of a person called Abdul Rashid, who was the kingpin of these Islamic terrorist recruitments, ISIS recruitments. And there were some of his voice clips that was aired. And in one of such voice clips, he was even asking the believers, the Muslims here, to poison the Kafirs, to attack those people assembling for Thrissur Puram or the people assembling for the Kumbh Mela. So this is the kind of arguments they were putting forward. Though that was made in Malayalam, it was being translated and it was aired all over our country. So this happened in India. So I'm asking Dhruv Rathee a question. The problem that is discussed here is not about the conversions or the numbers. It's all about the jihad that is happening here. And for that, they created a plot for a movie. That's the only thing that we can see here. So I'm asking Dhruv to produce a voice clip like this from an ISIS recruiter or a recruiting agent like Abdul Rashid, who is speaking in any other language other than Malayalam and asking for people to bomb or to attack any of these assemblance of other religious people. I'm asking, this is a genuine request for you. So we are addressing a real problem, and into that, if you are bringing an idea that the people are the problem and the ideology is not, this is bringing more harm to the people or the believers or the people who are the real victims of that. So when you are trying to explain things by appealing to these emotions that Kerala is number one, there's no doubt in that, but still, this is not the right place to say that, because we know that Kerala is number one in many other aspects. But that doesn't mean that we are safe from Islamic terrorism. So that is being explained, self-explained by the statistics that you have brought. That you had brought a statistics where people from European countries getting recruited. So do you think that those European countries are low in education? Are they low in equality? Are they low in women's rights? Are they low in any other human welfare indices, human development index, any other things? So that's not the right way to defend this. So our point is that the biggest breeding grounds of Islamic terrorism are the places where people are highly affluent and who have the liberty and the luxury to look into all these things and to venture into learning these kind of ideologies. And the most number of recruitments happening are from these kind of developed countries itself. That itself proves that. So, again, when Dhruv start talking about this love jihad, we have another point to make, because love jihad is something that me, being an ex-Muslim and a person who wants to know the real truths behind that, have always said that this is something untrue. It is not happening here. And the best part is that even the BJP allies here, even the victims who were previously brought in as the victims of love jihad, they themselves have started reclaiming their titles as something else other than this love jihad, because they are also realizing that it is not love jihad. I can bring you more evidence for that in the coming days, because we are in the process of making it public, because that will be made public, and even that is getting approval of the people who were behind or who were mistakenly behind this allegation or this propaganda of love jihad. So there is no doubt that it is a conspiracy, or it is a false narrative that was made. Because the first thing is there's no love in Islam. Love is haram. So what is there in Islam is the conversion jihad, the marriage jihad, the kids making jihad. And apart from that, there is some other jihad that make them, or they invite those people to come to these caliphates, like in Afghanistan or in Yemen or in Syria. So that's what is happening here. And when talking about the forceful religions in your videos, that's not the case. That is related to or getting attached to this love jihad. That is something different. So when you try to convince that love jihad is untrue, you shouldn't have talked about this forceful religious conversions, because that is something different. That is what we call as conversion jihad, and that is a reality. And for conversions, people can venture into many other tactics. They can use any of those tactics. They can even help them financially. They can fall in love with them. There's no problem. And that is just part of until that marriage is happening. They get into marriage. And many other things, like helping them out to build a house, to getting them jobs. So would you call it as job jihad, or loan jihad, a repayment of loan jihad? Would you call that? No. So the prime idea or the prime goal of such activities is to convert the non-Muslims into Islam, and that is not something unique to Islam. It is happening everywhere. And I don't think that I have to elaborate on this much, because even in your video, it was clearly mentioned that the biggest profiters in this conversion job is Hinduism itself. The most number of conversions happened to Hinduism from other religions, 47% or so. That's what mentioned in your video. So I'm not producing that. So that's it. So love jihad is a conspiracy, or it's more precisely, it's not a conspiracy, it is a wrong terminology. That's what I would say. So this is well explained, and this is being clearly explained to those people, especially from North India, where people usually watch him. And a very big congrats to Dhruv Rathee for making that clear. And now, when coming to an end, I again say that the whole idea of this video is about promoting Muslimophobia, but inconspicuously. That's what happened here. I didn't expect such a thing from Dhruv Rathee. It is always approved, or it is what you say. It is understood that in a country like India, you have every right to criticize everything, anything in this world. You can criticize this movie. There's no problem in that. So the whole idea behind this movie, that was the jihad, Islamic terrorism, that was missed. And while explaining the futility of incorporating these propaganda items into this movie, Muslimophobia is getting more and more pronounced. That is something very much dangerous and serious. And that is the biggest problem that I am seeing here. And I wish such activities will be looked for in your future videos, where we have to look for the ideologies and not to the victims of those ideologies. That is, in this case, Muslims are the victims of Islam. So we need to save them. We need to make them understand. And to all my Muslim friends who were forwarding me this video and who were talking high of Dhruv Rathee and who were proclaiming him as the most truthful person in this world, I have a very different request to you. That is to watch this video, which is being aired on this same channel itself. That is Evolution. Is it fake or true? That's a good video that you can watch. You'll get an idea of how the conspiracy theory of creation of Adam and Eve is wrong and how this evolution is right. So I think that makes the point clear, and I expect some more calculated views, especially with regards to these kind of issues where certain group of people are directly affected with regards to such ideologies, and when that is a global phenomenon, and when that is a greater threat, especially a growing threat in our country, and when a state, particularly some of the districts are particularly affected, that has to be called out. And I think there is nothing wrong in naming this movie Kerala Story, because that is something true here. Apart from the technical things and the propaganda items, you just keep it apart, because you know that those were propaganda items from this video that was made by Dhruv Rathee. So now you watch the movie and look into those subjects where that can give out many other collateral thoughts regarding many other aspects of this life, especially this movie is trying to portray. For example, how this jihad is used, or it is being used as a simple dress item rather than a religious symbol. You will get an idea how to spot if a person is trying to woo into this religion by providing you a hijab. You can spot such things, because that is the real threat which we have to look for, and which we have to you have to stay away from. So there are certain things like that. And above all, if at least you watch this movie, you will get an idea how horrible the life of a jihadi would be in a desert, or in a place like Afghanistan, where even the basic needs are not met. It is very difficult to be met. You will get an idea, and even that will be a deterrent for you to not to join these kind of violent ideologies and get recruited into these jihadi forces and to be a jihadi fighter. So you live in a country like India, where you have all the freedom. You can enjoy every freedom. You have the basic human rights. You have the most beautiful thing on this earth, that is democracy and secularism. You won't find secularism in Islam, in a caliphate. You won't find democracy in a caliphate, because both of these are haram as per Islamic ideologies. So if any of these Muslims who talks high about Dhruv Rathee's video, I would request them also to look into these aspects, which is lying there, which gives you an example what helps Dhruv to make this video itself, and to learn these modern value systems like democracy and secularism deeper, and to steer away from these fascist ideologies like Islam. So don't forget about this video. Evolution, is it fake? Good night.